When an unidentified young woman was found wandering by the side of a road, bloodied and disoriented from an apparent car accident, two strangers came to her aid. While Tim Mongan treated her, Tom Horner placed a call for help.
Tom's second call for help came in at 12:13 p.m.
Emergency?
Yes.
Where's the location?
Just south of 800S on 267, old 267.
Okay, is this the auto accident?
Yes, it is, and there's a person hurt, and they're in my house right now.
And you have the person
The
in your
person
house?
has come up to the house, and they're injured, and they need an ambulance.
Is there anyone else in the car?
No one else is in the car.
Was one car involved only?
Yes.
And your name?
My name is Tom Horner.
Okay, we'll have the ambulance come to your home. They are on their way.
Thank you.
Bye. Spilled Engine 1, Ambulance 1, Squad 1, and Medic 1. An auto accident.
Plainfield Fire Rescue units were dispatched to the scene.
800 cell. Through the sheriff's second-hand original caller advised that the car is off the road, inverted into the woods area.
I ran out the front door, and so I would be out there to direct them to the house, since it's not a real easy house to find.
The first rescue units arrived within 7 minutes. Advanced EMT Jim Adams and his partner immediately went to treat the victim. 17-year-old Mary Joelle Stewart could remember very little except her name.
Mary Jo? Mary Jo, can you hear me?
My partner, Mike Hildebrand, started doing a good survey of the patient, and that's when we realized that, hey, this lady really took a hard knock. She's not totally with it. She's missing something here. She didn't know what happened to herself. We asked her how their clothes get wet. She didn't have the faintest idea.
Firefighter Wayne Long began searching for her car.
As we drove down there, we were looking off into the woods to see if we could see an automobile.
When I went down to the creek bank and looked down, I saw the car. It was just an amazing fact that there was no trace of the car going off the road. The top was smashed clear down to the top of the windows, and I don't see how anyone survived getting out of that car.
Anybody in there? I don't think so.
Wayne and his partner headed for the ravine to inspect the wreck.
You know, our job is to make sure there's nobody else in the car and make sure the car's not creating a hazard.
Mary Jo?
It's real common for most accident people to don't even remember what happened in the accident.
None at all?
You just keep asking the same questions, and you can pick up on these questions.
Mary Jo, do you have any medical history I should know about? None? You've had a baby? You've had a baby? 3 months ago. Okay, where's he at now?
You advised on the second victim.
When we got the questionnaire and come to the conclusion that possibly it was an infant, I radioed my captain.
Guys, go ahead and assume you got a second victim.
Wayne managed to get his head and shoulders inside the wreck.
I found a diaper bag with a bottle with some formula still in it. I saw a car seat. It was latched, but there was no child in it. It was just an overwhelming feeling of horror when I felt something in the water. I grabbed a hold of something that I thought was a leg, and all I had was this toy in my hand. And Jay said that we better find him quick because there was a larger waterway down there, and if the child got in the waterway, we would never be able to find him.
The water was muddy, and you couldn't see the bottom. So I was just slowly running my foot along underneath a car, doing a search for the infant, but I didn't find anything.
Was it a boy or a girl?
Jim and Mike continue to question Mary Joelle about her 3-month-old baby.
Philip? Okay, where is Philip now? You have any idea? It's important. At your grandmother's house.
Well, I asked her at that time if she knew what her grandmother's phone number was.
Mary Jo, that's not the right number. Can you give me another number?
She gave me a phone number that was just totally off the wall. I asked her to repeat the phone number, and she just gave me the last 4 numbers of her grandmother's phone number.
Is that 839 or 831?
Hello?
Yes, this is Plainfield Fire Department. I asked her if she knew anybody by the name of Philip. She says, yes, Philip's her grandson. I said, is Philip with you? She says, no, Mary Jo picked him up a few minutes ago. I said, thank you, and hung up. I needed to get a hold of my captain and let him know that there was a second patient.
Jay, it's confirmed. She had her 3-month-old baby with her.
Yes.
Down there, is that a doll? Where?
Down there. Is that the doll or the baby? That's the baby! Go! Come on, you guys! Come on down here!
Jay and I both knew that we had to get to the child fast before it got washed into the larger stream. Because the water was moving so fast, you pick your leg up and then kind of want to sweep your leg out from under you. He was partially submerged. The skin looked waxy, and he didn't have the normal flush tone that you would normally see in a child. I didn't really think he was real until I actually touched him.
Come on, Jay, give me some help.
Every time I tried to reach him up to Lester, I would slide back down the bank. And Jay come up behind me and held me up on the creek bank high enough that I could hand him up to Lester.
It had been nearly 35 minutes since the accident. Baby Philip was showing no signs of life, and no one knew how long he'd been underwater.
We turned him on his side and got as much of the water out as we could that way, and then I started giving him ventilation.
Keep doing CPR, don't stop.
Greg had me continue doing CPR while he set up his equipment to intubate the baby. Doing CPR on an infant's like your worst nightmare. If you press too hard, you can cause them injury, or if you breathe too hard into their lungs, you can cause injury.
Paramedic Greg Livingston intubated the baby while Wayne continued chest compressions. But there was still no pulse.
Like I say, he'd been in there for at least 30 to 45 minutes. I just thought this child really didn't have a chance. We moved the patient over to a backboard and proceeded to move him to the ambulance.
You lead, Dan, you lead. Got one step there.
Mary Joelle and her baby were transported to the nearest hospital in separate ambulances.
Okay. Yeah, we can get our equipment.
But Philip still was not breathing and had no heartbeat.
I'm going to get the diaper off and I'm going to wipe it down.
I put a lead on the baby, and Jade said, well, you pulled on his chest a little hard. And I said, I didn't pull on his chest very hard. That was the baby. And the more he tried to breathe, the better his pulse got. And I know I had a grin on his face, and I looked at Jay, and he had a grin on his face, too.
At the hospital, Mary Joelle was treated for a severe head injury. Her little son was still in critical condition, under the care of Nurse Lillian Cundiff.
Lillian, what's the skin temperature? We can't get a record.
We tried to get a temperature on the baby, and our thermometer wouldn't even register that low.
I need to see if I've got a pulse.
Philip, in fact, had a pulse. I did not feel like that his physical injuries were that serious, but my biggest concern was that he would be brain damaged because he'd been without oxygen for so long.
Your baby, the doctor and the other nurses are with him.
Mary Joelle had suffered a concussion and a fractured sternum. She was released after 3 days. Her baby was transferred to a pediatric intensive care unit under the supervision of Dr. Howard Egan.
The parents were always kept informed of the fact that this was a very tenuous situation. It was really touch and go from the very beginning.
I couldn't stand sitting there and watching him because it looked like he was helpless and I was helpless because I couldn't do anything.
He was blue. He had tubes and IVs all over him, and that I put him through that, and it really hurts. I think it was the first time I ever seen my grandmother cry, but I never thought or doubted that he would make it.
The best part to me was the day he cried. Just the sound, just to have him make a sound. I could have listened to it. I wish I'd have had it on tape.
Advanced EMT Wayne Long visited baby Philip in the hospital.
I think the real hero out of this is Phil, because we just got things started. He's the one that had to go through everything. When I went in to see him, and all the nurses and everything said he's doing great, he's going to live, it's just like one of my own family members.
The coldness of the water that day helped Philip survive without any brain damage. Within 3 weeks, he had made a complete recovery. The stewards are now even more careful that Philip is securely fastened to his car seat.
The paramedics saved Philip's life. And, you don't realize that until something like this has happened to your family, that people out there really do care. At first I was worried, I don't want him to be petrified of the water. And so, ever since I took him swimming the first time, I saw that he would like the water, and I think that maybe if I took him to a swim class, and if he learned young, then I think that would be best for him. the accident made me and my husband closer to realize that Philip was very special to us, and he's brought a lot of happiness into our life, and that the child just can't be replaced.
I thought maybe something was obstructing her throat. The only thing I remember her doing is taking one deep breath in, and she just stopped.